Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program. Welcome to another episode of Subscription Prescription, the podcast where we try to help you figure out everything related to D2C subscriptions. I'm really excited for this week's dose because we're going to be diving deep into loyalty. This week, I'm joined by the founder of Hubbvee and Goth Writer Coffee, Phil Kyprianou. And before we get all the way into the topic, I do want to take a moment to give a shout out to our sponsor for this episode. Our sponsor is Upzello. Upzello is a customer loyalty, referrals, and rewards platform specially designed for online and retail stores. They're an amazing team. I've worked with them in the past on some other technology. They have a lot of experience around consumer experience. And really the whole point behind the Upzello platform is trying to build the right type of loyalty experiences that your customers actually want instead of just sticking them into just classic point-based systems. So if you're trying to figure out loyalty, I would highly recommend giving the team at Upzello a shout. Go check them out. I will put a link to their website in the show notes, but please take a moment and look at upzello.com. Phil, I feel like we've been Twitter friends for a while. We've talked subscriptions offline before, and I gotta say, whenever I think about how a brand could brand their coffee or anything else, I immediately think of Goth Writer Coffee. Would you just tell us a little about the story of that, of like the fun branding for anybody listening at home? Go check out Goth Writer Coffee. I'll put a link to their website again in the show notes as well, because you can see an opportunity for a brand to be a little bit more fun and have a little more personality than what you're used to seeing online. So yeah, tell me more about the story of the origination of Goth Writer.
I started e-commerce around like 2012, something like that. But really into t-shirts. I was doing drop shipping using a platform that was very popular back in the days called Teespring, and developed a lot of different niches selling t-shirts. Up to a point in 2015, I started drop shipping. So, the traditional drop shipping from China, bringing all the stuff locally. It grew up. We had a fulfillment house up to a certain point in Atlanta when it was demanding like so much. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was managing 10 stores. And in different niche, I had the general stores, but I had like different. And one of them was Goth Writer, actually. And it was not a brand. It was not meant to be a brand. It was one of those 10 others in different niches. And for a reason, this one was always driving was much more fun. The customers were more cool, and the products were also some kind of things that were not available really in the retail store. So I was having like some sort of advantage against other products available out there. And started, going deeper and deeper into that, up to in 2018, where I felt like the drop shipping market started to change a lot.
Right.
Also in the cost to acquire customers, much more people were doing the same thing. There was no differentiation between that store that was selling a bunch of different accessories and jewelries and things like that. So I decided that the part that I loved the most, which was jewelry, to bring that in-house and bring that also in Montreal here. We have amazing local jewelers. So I partner up with a bunch of, and we started designing exclusive jewelry and things like that. It worked for a while, but it was a very difficult market because since I was coming from drop shipping, I was used to very low acquisition cost and also a low average order value. So moving from, let's say, a 45, 65 AOV to 350 to even like $1,000 customers that were buying like jewelry stuff, high-end jewelry stuff, it was costing much more to acquire those customers. So $100, $200 like sometime to acquire those customers. So I was like, okay, that's cool. It demands a lot of cash to scale. Right. It's not a model necessarily that I could sustain myself, and started surveying my customers during that time. That was around like 2019. And I was really looking to get into consumable products, and started looking like all options, something that was tied to my customers, and that I could also have a growth potential that makes sense. And when we surveyed customers, we had cosmetics for women, we had supplements, and we have also coffee. Supplements was a good thing because we had a lot of our part of our community back then that was into bodybuildings and things like that. So
Hmm.
that would have made sense. And cosmetics was a great opportunity, and I still think today it's a great opportunity in that niche because there's actually no really differentiators right now in the market for women, for badass woman actually, that wants to get something that is cool. There's like probably Kat
Yeah.
Von D that has his
Right.
own line, but there's not a lot of stuff out there that differentiate from all the rest. And then was coffee, and coffee actually came by accident actually because I was running my agency, Hubbvee, where we help customers to build strategy. And I came across a coffee company. We actually became friends. And during COVID, I said, I think, jewelry is not selling like it used to be.
Hmm.
My business is not stable as it used to be. So we should try something. And I asked them, if they were willing to help me to build a recipe around what I was thinking of, and they say, yeah, I mean, why not? So we tried that out like in about like 6 to 8 weeks, if I remember. We launched the coffee, and that was actually April 15, 2020. So we were celebrating like 4 years
Oh,
into the coffee.
congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And I was very surprised. It went well very fast. We grew like multiple tons of coffee selling, and we had from them challenges at different points, and I started like learning more, not only about the coffee business but also the subscription part, something that was not very I did not understand very well prior to dropship or selling jewelries, because
Right.
this was like totally two different models. Dropshipping, you have to make your dollars on the first sell because 99% of the time people are not
They're not
coming
coming
back.
back. Right.
Jewelry, it's very hard because the time people come back, the time frame is longer usually. So if you sell $1,000 jewelry, I mean, it's the chance that someone's going to come the next month to buy another $1,000 piece of jewelry is
Right. Right.
very, very, very small. And it's very hard to forecast as well. So getting into that game, it was like changing in terms of, okay, now I have to learn new stack of softwares, new
All
customers
the customer
behaviors,
experience. Right.
new
Right.
customers experience. And when we started actually with one SKU. So only the coffee, started to build around that. And I found out like also again, okay, that's great. The logic behind having a one SKU product is good, but coffee is very different from the typical, I would say, consumable products, because there's a range of flavors, that
Right.
goes with that, and everyone has a different taste.
Right.
So when people are used to, their own coffee, but they're in the market to look for others, if they don't find a taste that is similar to what they're used to, they might think that is not in their palate,
Right.
in the range. So we had to learn that as well, and also customers' behavior when we were talking about memberships or like subscription. We take for granted that sometime, okay, we have a consumable products, let's go like with memberships or a subscription, and it's going to go by itself, people just reorder. But again, coffee, people buy that as a consumable already when they're going to do the groceries. So for them, it's changing their behaviors. It's not a new
Right.
behaviors that you're building. It's something that you have to deflect to get them. So for some people, there's advantage, but for some, it's not advantage. And you have to understand that and live by that as well, because it makes sense for some and some others, while there's specific products that is
And
totally
how is that?
different. Yeah.
How has that influenced then the sales process? Then I mean, you guys are doing like sample packs and some other ways that
Yeah.
people can get into the coffee, right? Can you unpack?
Yes.
That's like what's influenced that sales strategy. Then it sounds like with understanding how different people come at coffee and trying new flavors.
Exactly. So we started developing other SKUs. I wish we had do that earlier in the process. So we got stuck with one SKU for too long, and we should have diversify our portfolio of SKUs faster, so we could have or get people tasting the product. Now you're bringing something very interesting, is like the sampling. We think that sampling might help because you're thinking that, okay, more sample, more affordable it is to bring people in through sample, you might have a chance to get customers faster. But we found out by two tests at different time that didn't work at all. So because we found out that the testers and the samplers actually are like contesters. They're people there for cheap stuff. They're not ready to invest
Interesting.
themselves to buy full product. So we did that when we started early. So we create like a 100-gram sample pack for our one SKU. And this year we create a sample pack, 100 grams again, or 85 gram, whatever, for each of our main SKU as well, to give them like that kind of palettes of taste to try out. And we found out that actually those people are not buying that again. What is happening actually is already customers, existing customers, are buying the sample pack to give to friends after. But
Interesting.
it's not a trigger to make your first sale actually. So this is a lot of it's how can I say that? It's a learning curve actually.
Right.
It's a real learning curve because you make a lot of hypotheses out there, of thinking, what should be the path to get better growth and acquire faster customers, or even like customers at lower cost and get them. We even did a partnership last year during Black Friday to Christmas with a brand, totally different, like uh, totally different kind of brand. And we always think that everyone buys coffee or everyone drinks coffee. Yeah, I mean, up to a certain point. So we said, why not? We're going to give them samples, actually like full size bag, and they only have to pay shipping. And we sold, I don't remember, like near probably 1,000 of them, like for free. We just wanted like to spread out, the world and the thing. We found out that again, the problem is people were not in the market to taste a new coffee. So even if we did that
Right.
sampling, like probably on 1,000, there was like probably 5 people that came back. Just to
I
tell
was
you,
gonna
and
say
it's not.
I've had 2 brands in the last week that have told me that free plus shipping model, like that, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Which is funny though, because other brands have told me that they like it, but I do think I mean I think it's something that you can potentially test at a smaller scale, but it does kind of like bring back the main point of like what type of experience or what type of customer, right? Like if somebody's looking to become a coffee drinker of your brand, as opposed to like they're willing to invest time because they're trying to invest in a big habit, as opposed to like something sample that seems easy, feels like that's a great introductory, but in many ways it's not. Because yeah, I guess that makes sense, because I don't typically order samples of stuff. If I think it's good or somebody tells me to try it, like I go buy a case or something like that, and then my wife is mad at me because it's sitting in the pantry for too long because nobody's drinking it. So that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious then, when you mentioned like the referral and existing customers buying the samples, like how are you guys enabling like referrals then for Goth Writer?
So right now, the referrals, I would say it's mostly through active customers. So most of them will just join either like the referral program or the ambassador program. Again, I would say that people that are the most engaged are the one already like very deep in the brand. So they have spent like probably thousands of dollars, and they are already ambassador by themselves. Getting new customers as ambassadors it's very, very, very hard.
Hmm.
You have to go through, I call that an indoctrination sequence, where you need to get them into really appropriate the brands through that. But that is very hard, and it's a numbers game, actually. So you need to
Okay.
have a lot of scalability, like already ongoing, to be able to nurture those people to make them like real ambassadors.
So would
If
you?
not, yep.
Okay, so say finish your thought if you want, but
Yeah, so that's one way we found. The other way we found that is very interesting, like about a year or a year and a half ago, we went very hard with influencers type of creators, and we found out that from all we have sent, there a couple of them actually that became very good customers and very deep in the brand at the same time. But there was a match also with these people and our brand. Like, it was natural for them to adopt that because it
hmm.
was already part of their lifestyle. While others, it was there, but they took it more as either a freebie or a job, you know.
Right,
So
right.
that's where and after, you know, it took us like a couple of months to figure this out, have the right understanding. Then we posed that because actually there's a cost attached to that, but also
Sure.
we have to refine the strategy to find those people that have the most chance to become those real ambassadors. And I think at the end, it becomes a bit like direct sell, you know, where you have a conversion rate attached to that. You need to have a conversion rate attached to your brand ambassadors as well, you know?
That's such an interesting question. So yeah, it's talking about, and again, like I mentioned this at the top, but for anybody who's interested, like you should go look at their website, and you're going to see very, very quickly, like there's strong, strong branding there. It's strong coffee. The Goth rider is a very strong motif throughout the whole brand. So finding that, and that's what Phil's talking about, of like finding people that resonate with that kind of like that, those dark colors and like that goth
Mhm.
feeling, like, but it's also very artistic. So it's like, it's not just like, some text and a color. It's like the graphics are really cool, like all that stuff. And that's, I'm assuming, inspired from like your work with Phil. Does a lot of work with AI and design stuff, which is really, really cool. So I'm curious then, if you're talking about like the difference between like referrals and building out an ambassador program, like, can you unpack for me a little bit? Because I want to dive into loyalty. Like,
Yep.
is
Yep.
loyalty kind of like it's like for most people that are just passively or maybe a little bit engaged with the brand, referrals is another tier up, and then ambassadors is
Mhm.
another tier up. Is that a good way to think about that? And if so, could you unpack your loyalty referral strategy for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they live in different buckets and at different
Okay.
stage, actually. One thing, and I've shared that like recently, because loyalty have been seen the same for multiple years. They haven't changed in their thought, and a lot of people are still using the old traditional playbook, which is first of all points for dollars, then trying to exchange that for products and all this kind of thing. Until there, you know, it's pretty basic, and most are still using that even as a platform, as an offering. Now, the other thing also that goes with that is a lot of people thinks that loyalty is about dollars or raw coming back, you know, ROI coming back in
Mm-hmm.
terms of dollars. Yes and no. I would say more no than yes at first. If you think about building a loyalty program that will bring you dollars, I would say don't do it, because that approach will give you like actually bad expectation in terms of the time it takes. So there's a couple of stuff that goes with loyalty program, and I think one of them is first like the communication. You know, that's the first thing. The second thing about that is comparing yourself with others, which is totally never do that.
That's
That's where you're
e-com at
gonna
its
fail.
finest, though. Everybody is comparing themselves to everybody else.
Exactly. So it has, you have to find the the view that will fit the best for your brand, and you have to stick to it. Quick example, you know, when I've built, I went like through all platforms, all different strategies out there. I've been sold to a way of doing it. I've been sold to, memberships. I've been sold to points and all this kind of thing. I've tried it all. I said, I'm tired about trying it all because everyone is selling through their own way, through their own experience, but based on the mechanics they have built themselves.
Right.
Now I want to build my own mechanics. The first thing I've said is like, first of all, Godfighter is a universe. Like you've said, there's graphics, there's a story behind. Each people have, each design have something that is tied into a world. I want to create like that kind of universe around that. It takes time, but that's my big vision. And to adopt it, I like also the kind of, the comics, books and things like that, but I like also the game part also. So there's a gamification part of it. And when I've looked at the traditional way of doing loyalty, I found out, there's no games. It's pretty boring. It's all the same thing.
Gamification is like you just spend more and to get to another tier, and then you get a prize or a product or something like that.
Exactly.
It's very simple.
And most of them, like even like they have like that level like of bronze, gold, platinum, like all those kind of stuff, which is very, very, very traditional. And it might not be bad for most, but I think there's something missing. And the thing I like to give as an example is like, let's say you're playing Super Mario, after level 3 it's finished. It's gonna be dull, I mean, are you going to save the princess after like level 3, and spending 3 hours playing? No, you want to have like that kind of engagement going over and over. So I've said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build like to start 30 levels, 30 levels,
30 tiers.
30 tiers, and each tiers are going to grow how engaged they are with our sites, with the brand actually, So whatever, we put like a bunch of stuff to make them engage, and those points accumulate. Even if they spend or they use it, it doesn't go down. It's really a level system, like a gaming system. So it only goes up and up, and you have like a leaderboard and things like that. So you can
is that like discounts that people are earning, or like what is the benefit of being up on a higher tier versus others?
Yeah, so the benefits are there is like for sure, the gift, and there's like a gift, very cool gift at the end. You can win a coat, let's say with embroidered like Goth Rider, things like that. That's let's say the top tier, but each tiers has a gift, dollars. They can unlock like a specific thing. There's like challenges also that goes with that. So if let's say we do a lot of limited edition mugs, I have mugs here.
I know, I love it when you guys do that. It's so cool. Yeah.
So if cool. They collect 3 of them, they can unlock that's a challenge. They can unlock like something more. So creating all those kind of
things. So you're creating games within the games. It's not just like spend getting you up a tier, but it's like if you've collected this merch before, if you've opted into this special or something like that, that creates other.
Exactly.
So earlier you talked about like loyalty and ROI, and I think that's really, really important, right? Because that's the biggest question, especially when I'm looking at, and one of the reasons I wanted to chat is like I'm looking at a brand, pretty decent sized brand, and their loyalty program and the dollars people are spending. It's hard to tell, like, what is this even doing? Like, is this giving people, is this a perk and you're just eating the cost because you're rewarding some people? Or is it, and it sounds like from what you're saying though, like you're getting people to maybe, I don't know, 5%, 10%, 20% of your active buyers that are maybe more engaged because of the program, which is ROI, right? Like, am I seeing like you're trying to build something that does craft ROI, or are you still looking at it like, I'm just trying to create something cool because cool will help build the brand, and building the brand builds sales?
It's a mix of all, but let's get it straight, the loyalty program is, yes, it's for me, it's an engagement first. The dollars there, let me rephrase that. Whatever you do with or without a loyalty program, people will come in and buy. If you have discount, they will come and buy with your discount. It's actually, in most case scenario, the loyalty program is a distraction. It's
Hmm.
not a complement to increase your sales, because anyway, people will use a discount and will use it. The problem with loyalty programs, and how they're measuring it right now, is they take that information, they take that discount that anyway, with or without it, people would have used it, and they take it on their end, showing, hey, look, because you're using a loyalty program, you get that for, and you get the discount used. But I mean,
Right.
without it, people will do it, you know. And the other thing also is like the real truth is people don't give a shit about loyalty program, except at Starbucks, and
I was going
that's
to
it.
say that is the well, yeah.
That's it.
That's so funny. It's like when we're at the movie theaters and they're like, "Oh, you have like X amount of dollars. Do you want to apply that to your popcorn?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." If you're telling me
Yeah,
I get $5 off because of how much money I've spent here so far, yeah, apply it. Like, but am I buying more popcorn to get more loyalty points? Like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing anything like that. Now, would I maybe engage in a campaign or a game to win a free ticket to like that I can use whenever I want, or like get access to a special premiere early of a favorite movie coming out? Like, now you're going to get me motivated to like actually take more action. So okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And so my next question is like, do you see like, okay, because again, we start with Goth Rider having like a very strong like brand and like ethos, like, and how you view yourself in the world, which I think is really appealing to a lot of people that like that.
mm,
Do you see like what you're doing is something that every coffee brand or supplement or subscription brand should be doing in some way, shape, or form? Like, how, from a strategy perspective, because I know your experience at Hubbvee, like, how do you talk to like a pet food brand, for example, like
mhm.
around like this loyalty or engagement process, that maybe they're okay on the branding side, but maybe they have a strong product position, right? Like organically sourced food or something like that. How should brands be thinking about loyalty then in general? Can they do exactly what you've done, or should they, like, what's the variation look like, do you think?
It's gonna depend on a lot of factors, I would say. First off, I like the pet thing, because pet is also about community. You can definitely build a community around pets, so
Right.
you can build some gamification much more. I would say it will be much more easier to build gamification around that than building around a cosmetic brands that it has, you know, very great appealing, you know, which means that that's why I say, you know, you have to create your retention program based on the real needs of that brand. So a gamification will not work with all type of brands or all type of niche or verticals or things like that. And that's okay. You know, that's the thing I always say, like, to brands, is like, why do you need that? Why do you think this is going to make a
Right.
leverage to your brand? You know, do
Right.
you have active people? Do you have a community? Do you have like something going on? You know, let's say a yoga brand that sells supplements. Maybe because the yoga has a community factor, so I can probably create engagement. Now, because I create engagement, can I add a game factor to that? Yes or no? You know, so maybe in some case, it's better to have just a straight membership program a la Costco, you know? Maybe
Mhm.
that's it. So I don't think it's why it's not, a lot of people thinks that, okay, let's put a membership everywhere.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, let's
No.
right. And let's craft this whole program, and we get in that subscriptions too. And the
Yeah,
analogy I always like
subscription
to use
too.
is
Yeah.
people like, and it's funny you talk about drop shipping. The joke I've said, I haven't said it a lot this year, but last year was, I feel like subscriptions was like drop shipping 10 years ago. Like, everybody's doing it. Everybody thinks it's easy. Most people don't realize how difficult it can get. But so this idea of like, you want to build like the Tesla, that's the analogy. Is like, I want to build the Dollar Shave Club or the Dr. Squatch program. Like,
Mm,
that's what I
mm,
want there, and you're a
yeah.
$1 million brand, right?
Yeah.
And the idea is you have to walk before you can run.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, like reflective listening, when we're thinking about loyalty membership, it's maybe looking for just like little places you can create impact, where somebody, like, understanding what people want more of, right? Like,
Yeah.
if pet food is an example, if it's um creating a community element, if like you wanted to organize like pet play dates because your community might, or your customers might really enjoy that, or coming up with like, do you want dog or doggy toys like included in the shipment? Like, what other things can we do that are going to be valuable but also scalable for us, instead of like just coming up with some program ad hoc?
Exactly. And one point you brought earlier is like how we measure that, and I think that's something that is very important, because right now the only measure that I think that is available is the dollars, the returns on dollars
Mm-hmm.
of your loyalty program. I think this is wrong, because that's not the first step. I think there should be a different kind of approach, much more based on engagement, then later on translate into the returns on dollars. But at the early beginning, it's all about how you can engage your customers through that. Because if there's no engagement, there's nothing happening actually,
Like how we can get them to think about us more. Would that be a fair way? Is like, how can we get our customers to think about us a little bit more?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting.
How we can make sure they are more active in each steps we take. So how we can push them into opening the emails, clicking on the emails, if we're building a community on Facebook or off Facebook on a third-party platform, how we can make sure they are engaging more. If we have our own app on the App Store, how we can make sure. So all of these are points of measurement that have increments on a later on bigger picture, But this is the true measure, I think, because more people are engaged and are actually in face of your brand, better it is, and near the transaction will be, the next transaction will be. So actually, yeah, that's my view, and I think it has been just view differently for too long, and still some people are still playing that game. Even on the membership part, they're talking about incrementality of that $9 per month you're getting, you would not get if you didn't have that membership. But I think if there's no engagement, you have, even if you charge $9.99 per month, it gives you like a couple of dollars more. That's not what it's going to build you in the long term anyway. And the other thing also we found out is, sadly, memberships alienate some of your customers. So because they feel that they're a part, they're not part of
that, they're not a part, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're not part of the game, the gang. So alienating customers. I mean, we did that error, I'm gonna tell you. And the time we put that membership on, we lost a lot of fans. They felt that we not betrayed them, but like, okay, I'm not going there.
So that's the difference between like, hey, we have this game that you can choose to play or not.
Yeah.
Or we have this system that if you want, you can pay to get access to. So I guess I can see like how some people would be offended by, like, it's one thing to say like, hey, there's a game, you can play or not, it's up to you. And I can still like you and choose not to play. Or if I start feeling like you're maybe being elitist, like, I think that can make sense. And again, like everything, I always say with a grain of salt, like,
yeah,
try what works for you. Like there's plenty, like memberships are amazing. Like there's tons of things that are working in those, and different loyalty programs too. But like, you have to know what's going to work for like your customers and what they're going to resonate with. So I guess, this has got a little bit different than what I was thinking. I thought we'd like be breaking down more like best practices around like loyalty tiers and systems. But it sounds like, no, we're talking more conceptually or strategically of like understanding more about what's like going to cause engagement to happen, like fans to happen. And that makes me think, there's a brand here in Utah that I really love called Mixers, and they'll just do fun things for their customers with like, like rent out movie theaters or like throw parties and just get people to come out, get women to come out and like celebrate themselves and have fun. And that's part of the program. They have points and referrals, and they have all the technical stuff in that. But I've always really liked that, because they're trying to like create like community, because like you said, it's not that community so much is like leading to a direct ROI, but that community is leading probably to more referrals, which is leading to more ROI, right?
Here you go. Here you go.
Okay.
Because more you're engaged, more you are, like I was saying earlier, like more you are into the brand, more you're gonna talk about it to your friends, your surrounding, and all this kind of thing. Maybe you're not personally gonna generate sales, but you are going to bring others. That reminds me, like a customer we had, a kind of customers. That person was engaged in all our giveaways, our lives, and all this kind of thing. But that person like barely spent when I look at at their account. But because they were sharing all over the place, it brought like other people's, because they love. So sometimes it's like it's not because they don't spend that they're not good people. It's probably just not a fit in terms of money wise or anything like that, but it can bring so much more visibility, than you can think of.
Yeah, well, that actually reminds me of Mixers. I was on a panel with their head of growth, and she actually, I can't remember if she said this. She might have said this after because I was asking about it. She said their top spending tier is not the most engaged in their loyalty program. Their top spending tier are people that are like, they're too busy, but they're high income. They just are getting their stuff, head down, life is happening. And they spent the most money. But right below that was the tier of all of the super engaged. Like if there was anything to get extra points to win free product, they were doing all the shares and doing all of the actions you could do to get more product. And so I think that's interesting too, because it does evoke, like, I think like when we talk about memberships, we talk about subscriptions, we talk about loyalty, I think we get lost in, we were talking about a program instead of talking about like experience for different types of users, right? And so subscriptions aren't the go-to for everything. Like they work for some instances and some people. Memberships do the same thing. Loyalty needs to be viewed the same way. It's not just like, hey, we need to have this program because that's what so-and-so does. Is we need to figure out how we can engage more with a certain group of customers, because no loyalty program is going to work for 100% of your customers. I feel like you'd be lucky if you got 20% to work for that, right? Like, so, okay. So, and sorry, so this is part interview, part Matt digesting what we're talking
okay.
about. like I told you, initially I wanted to just do a call with Phil and just talk loyalty, and then I was like, wait, this needs to be a podcast episode, so that other people care too. Okay, so all right, let's put all that, just table some of that, like not the ideas or strategy, but I'm just, because obviously anybody listening to this who's already running loyalty with whatever app you're using, like, isn't going to just go rip out everything they're doing right now. So like, let's maybe just take a little bit of a practical approach, like regardless of platform or app people are using, what are some of the things that you see that are effective with getting better at loyalty, whether that's getting better engagement, understanding the ROI, like getting people to take, get a second purchase or a referral. There's a lot that loyalty can try to do. What are some ideas or things that you've seen work from an experience standpoint or an offer standpoint that you think would be worth sharing?
I would say that the basics of everything is start with communicating about like the program. I think that's the number one thing. And I would say that most of the brands, even that I've worked with, where they fail, either like a subscription, membership, and all this kind of thing, they fail at communication. So it has to be bombarded almost like everywhere, all emails, SMS, reminders, and all this kind of thing. Now, the other thing that works, I would say, in terms of engagement, is anything for sure that can increment the value of what they get in terms of purchase, activity, engagement, whatsoever. That always works. When we do a promo that is tied to get this when you do that, it works. It's like a buy one get one free. It's the same concept.
I love that, because when I get a message through the Shop app, so for me, my experience with loyalty, I don't use a ton of loyalty online purchasing, but when Shop app tells me I have a certain amount of dollars that's worth like 10x or 20x if I go buy it through these stores, like I've bought, I buy stuff through that offer all the time, right? And same thing with like a local smoothie company. I'm a member, I'm on their SMS list. And whenever I get a message about like a BOGO offer, like, hey, Fridays, like if you come in, buy one, get one free, I'm like telling my kid, like, hey, let's go stop by Roxbury and get a smoothie on the way home or something like that, because it's like triggering me to take an action, right? Like, here's the offer and here's the action. So they're very, very clear, as opposed to being like, if you do all this stuff gets you points and eventually you're going to win free product. It feels a little bit more nebulous. And honestly, like, I feel like that's always, those programs are hard to unpack if they're really working. Or is it just somebody's buying all the time from you and they're getting free stuff, which isn't a bad thing, I think. I mean, if it's a way of increasing more loyalty for them, but interesting.
So that's the other thing. And it's all about value. It's all about how you're gonna double value. Another thing we did recently is like, okay, the whole, let's say, month of March, you're getting a free mug when you buy anything, anything. But you get also more points, so that's gonna add up for the next month if you want to spend them. So that's it. It's always about like getting that free stuff, or that free stuff, that free bonus, that free way of getting, the value. I mean, it's all about value,
Right.
actually. I use the word free, but it's not necessarily good, but it's the value I give. Simple things also, we're using more digital products now. So one thing we did is, when you're getting to that level, you unlock a pack of wallpapers for your computer and your iPhone. This is super easy to do,
And that leads into your
and
art
people
stuff.
love that.
Right.
And we even, I used to sell them. I said, you know what? I mean, we're gonna keep it like if someone really wants to buy it, but anyway, that we're going to give that away because that's value. That's good also for the brands and things like that. And usually we do like seasonal, like I would say, like wallpaper packs. Let's say easy, doesn't cost too much, but a lot of value there. So again, it's all those kind of stuff that goes, it's building blocks, actually,
Building blocks,
around,
right?
Yeah, around that. So that and the other formula also, it's keep things simple. You even if we do like 30 levels,
I was just say, Phil, it sounds like a lot of levels. Sounds a little complicated.
It's a lot, but each step to gain to it is very simple.
Okay.
And for a lot of customers, they can rank up to level 10 very easy. But that's what we want. We want to create that kind of dopamine of, you buy or you do all this kind of thing. Oh yeah, level up, and it gets more complicated by the time. But they feel
that point, you're already in at that point, right? Like, it's not like I'm trying to sell somebody off of a like step 35 as like complicated as step 1. No, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I've been thinking about like video, like on like mobile app games, like I think are like because I think they're just so fast at testing like different things that they can get somebody to spend more time on the app, if they can get somebody to make in-app purchases. Like, there's so many milestones related to gaming, and that's why I also feel like gamification is like kind of a bad buzzword, because gamification could be simple as like, you got out of your chair, like, congratulations. Right? Understanding like what are we like what are we motivating and stuff, and so thinking that through of like the different actions, different steps, and then testing different ways to get engagement if people are taking the right behavior. Like, I would be really interested to see if like I could just run a program where I get somebody to come back to the website for something, right? Like, if I can get somebody to open the email and click a link just to go read a press release or whatever that is, let alone making additional purchases, opting in for additional offers. Okay. That I'm really glad we have this conversation, because initially I thought memberships and subscriptions there's a very strong overlap here, but the way we've talked about loyalty today feels that fits. Because again, many times I felt like loyalty is either outdated or it doesn't really work, because we're trying to we want to drive the subscription experience. But the way we've talked about loyalty today, I feel like there's a very, very strong correlation. But again, thinking about it from different levels of experience and what people are wanting from you as a brand, from product.
It's a different layer. You can combine those two together for sure. And they have two different kind of experience. Again, one thing we are looking now, even because we're into retail and main focus for us is getting into retail, is how we can bring that loyalty, I would say, experience to retail at the same time, having that same feeling, so they continue their journey So we were saying is like you have subscription, but there's still customers that just don't care about subscription and they still want to buy their coffee at their retail store. But we still want to figure out, what are they really following us? Are we able like to continue to compensate them for what they're doing? So that's an approach also we're
So
looking into it
you could have a tier where, like, if there's a unique code on a bag that you can only buy in store or something like that, you could make that one of your levels. Like, this month you have to go buy a bag in store to get this extra special like release or something like that.
Absolutely. And there's technology out there already that can do that with Wallet Pass, actually.
Right.
Like they geolock yourself where you're going. You have a specific coupon that is tied to that retail. You scan it and boom, know that they made that purchase and it's linked to your account and not to the retailer's account, because usually this is what is happening is like you take a Walmart or whatsoever, they keep all the data. They don't share the data with us,
Right.
So now it's a way like a middleman that takes that data while also Walmart or whatsoever retail chain get the data at the same time. So we are able to do the full journey of the customers, and we can keep seeing, okay, they buy their coffee, but they're still coming on our website to buy like the mystery boxes or the T-shirts and things like that.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So like you're able to, like, if you were with the right loyalty program, you could give some type of reward or benefit for people that are buying in store versus online, those that do both, those that find something that they prefer. Yeah. Like say the mugs aren't going to be in retail necessarily, right? Or some of the merch might not be, at least right now, but the coffee itself is, this is really, really fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a good incentive also for the retailers, because the biggest fear of retailers is not driving traffic to their brick and mortar store, how can I say that, grabbing their sales, for online, So they always feel very old school, but I would say they always feel like it's some sort of a challenge between online and retail, while the two can coexist. And with that kind of technology, actually, you can show them, no, I mean, we're going to run in-store promos, and we're going to, anyway, everyone's going to win, and
that's what I like. So you feel like you're giving the consumer the experience.
That's why, I mean, we're now in a kind of era where there's no more boundaries between the retail and the e-com. Both lives together, actually,
I mean, the idea of like, if I buy a lot of Tostitos, so it's chips, like the idea that if I would actually, like, while I never buy online, like I might potentially download an app and join a loyalty program if it gave me some kind of perk for every time I buy from like whatever grocery store I buy from. And then that creates an engagement on the app that if they wanted to market other things to me or show me other specials, they actually could probably get me to buy an online offer if I'm like interacting or engaging with them in a way that I hadn't before. Yeah, again, I love this. Again, it's about creating better experiences for the end user instead of what you want people to necessarily do. Although that's the secret of it, right? Like when you understand what motivates people, you can game that a bit so that it also works well for your brand, or game it a lot.
100%, and that's why I always that's why I start with the premises that nobody cares about your loyalty program.
Right.
Because you have to go in the head of the customers and understand their customers' experience before, because this has to be layered up their behavior.
Right.
So like yourself, like you said exactly, is you love that product, So if we layer something up with something you're already doing and you love, it's going to be way easier than doing the reverse and try to put that in their mouth and making sure they're joining that program, while you don't have to force anything.
Phil, this has been amazing. I'm going to wrap up now. I feel like we could be talking all day long about the strategy stuff, but my friend, it's good to connect you. I appreciate you coming on the show. For anybody again who's interested, I will put Phil's Twitter profile in the show notes as well. You can connect with him there. He's just, great part of the D2C space, both at Hubbvee and Goth Rider. And again, another final shout out to our this doses sponsor, Upzello. I've talked quite a bit with their team, and I think it's really interesting to hear what they're saying with what they're trying to build and the market that you're seeing and trying to create these better experiences. Because like what their CEO has told me is, we're trying to build a loyalty program that people will like and use, as opposed to something that a brand just works for whatever point redemption system. So again, thank you so much, Phil, for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay tuned for next week's dose from Subscription Prescription. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.